Hey guys, and welcome to Ozzie Reviews, and welcome to January Q A. Now it seems to come in different flows, this guys. I get a lot of questions from people, and you know, they miss the posts and everything, where this is exclusively for those of you who support me on Patreon. Reason why I have to do that is because I literally get hundreds and hundreds of emails and questions from people just, you know, needing advice, which is fine, I get that, but I can't humanly possibly keep up with it all. So I have to minimize it. So my way of minimizing it is to leave it just exclusive to those of you who are kind enough to support me on Patreon. So if you need my individual help, guys, that's fine, you can get it, but you do need to be a Patreon supporter, okay? And that's as simple as $1 a month. Okay, so if you can't afford that, you know, to get personalized advice, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So, all right, let's get into this month's questions. We've got some really interesting questions here. The first one I got is from Matt, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, what are your thoughts on the Lokaway safes in regards to fire rated versus non-fire rated? I realise it is a personal choice, and just wondering what your thoughts on whether or not it is worth going to the fireproof route. And I'd like to install a safe in my garage, which is part of my main roof. However, it gets really hot in there, and I'm concerned about the heat may negatively affect the guns in the safe. Thoughts on that? Cheers, mate." Okay, so when you're looking at a fireproof safe, you've got to look at what it's rated for, okay? So how long it's going to protect the goods inside the safe as well. So they do have a rating, so it might be 30 minutes, it might be 1 hour, you know, it might even be 2 hours, depending on what type of safe it is. So yeah, that's what you got to look at there. Lokaway safes, I mean, look, made in China. Last time I looked at them, they were. So, but I find them really good for, you know, a budget safe. I mean, if you want to go more high end, I mean, naturally you can, but for what they are, I think they're pretty well made from what I've seen with them, and I've had a look at a couple of their models now. What you really got to look at here, Matt, you know, and I've got a question here from Gavin, who put this on the end of your question about, you know, is a fireproof safe able to stay cool enough, you know, to protect your guns or glass from damage, or are they going to be an insurance claim? Well, look, you got to think, like, the fire moves through the house, doesn't it? So it's obviously not going to be around that safe for a number of hours. You'd imagine the fireys would turn up and probably extinguish it, you know, hopefully before it goes on for that sort of duration. So as I said, you have to have a look at the rating, but you got to remember, like, documents usually ignite at around about that 175 degrees Celsius. So, you know, you got to see what temperature it will keep the items cool for that time. Glass, you know, when you're talking about like a scope, complete different thing, you know, like glass will melt at around 1400 degrees Celsius. So, you know, it's going to take a while for inside that safe to get to that level there. But naturally, you've got other materials like the plastics and stuff like that that obviously will melt as well. So where I'm going with it, mate, is I would just have a look at the model and have a look at the specific technical details on how long that actually keeps those items protected for, and at what temperature, and then you can work out, you know, which way you're going to go. Like, for example, you could go for a you know, like, just, this isn't brand specific, but just a brand that has promotion for a media safe. Well, a media safe is going to give a lot better protection than just a document safe, because obviously media can be destroyed at a lot lower temperatures, okay? So you could sort of I guess adapt that to obviously firearms. Your last bit there about you know, having a safe in the garage, and, you know, obviously humidity and stuff like that. Look, we get a lot of humidity here in the summer naturally, and you know, I've never had a problem, because every time I use my firearms, I just put that coating of G96 over it once I've cleaned it, and it just goes back in the safe, and it's good as gold. I've had no problems with corrosion or anything like that, so I haven't had to buy a dehumidifier or anything. Honestly, mate, that's the cheapest way out of it. Just make sure your firearms are well coated with a good lubricant like G96. Next question I got is from another Matt here. He says, "Hey Ozzie, wondering what your thoughts are on a low budget air rifle. The old air rifle I have is from the 70s and lacks the punch to provide an ethical kill on birds. Ideally, I'd love a semi-auto, but not sure what the running costs are for something like that." Okay, well, mate, for a semi-auto, depending on you know, how they actually you know, work in that particular air rifle, you can get little air canisters. Then you can get other big canisters to pump up a canister that's permanently in that air rifle. If you're looking at semi-autos, like the FX ones seem to be very popular, very exy though. You're paying quite a bit of money for them. As for, you know, other ones, I mean, look, you could look at Diana or, you know, even Walther. Have a look at their website and they'll tell you, you know, the velocity and everything that air rifle will shoot at. So then you can work out whether it's going to be ethical enough on birds. Another option, I mean, look, and I've suggested this to a few people before as well, I mean, you could look at a 22 and use something like CCI Quiet with the hollow point projectiles. I mean, you know, it's going to be exactly as loud as an air rifle. It's going to have the punch and open up to ethically, you know, kill a bird, but without it going, you know, right through it and wondering about where it's going to stop. Okay, so that would be my other advice there. But yeah, have a look at the websites, mate. Let me know how you go. Next question I got here is from Nathan. He says, "Hi Ozzie, I'm looking at buying my first 12 gauge shotgun for a bit of all-round hunting and clays. Had my eye on a Huglu straight pull. Seems fantastic for the price, but not sure if straight pulls are suitable for clays. Cheers." Well, no, they're not, mate, because usually, you know, when the clay releases there, you've really got those two shots, bang, bang, to make sure they count. Okay, so, you know, I personally wouldn't want to be trying to, you know, cycle the action of a straight pull to be able to, you know, get that second shot off quickly. So I'd be looking at just an under and over shotgun. Mate, I have reviewed it. I've owned it for many, many years, and that's a Maruku MK70. Have a look at the review. Honestly, they're just perfect. And I like the idea of a single trigger, even if it is only two shots, you know, because you can just go bang, bang. So if you're out chasing some game or whatever, you've just got that really quick follow-up shot where, you know, with obviously a straight pull or any manually operated action, you've got to manually obviously manipulate it, which means your sight alignment is interrupted. Where if you've got that single trigger, you can just follow, bang, bang, and you just keep straight on target. I much prefer that myself. So yeah, have a look at that review, mate. I think you'll find it quite interesting. And honestly, Maruku are a fantastic shotgun in general. Very high quality, you know, and I've had zero problems. Next question I got here is from Mick, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, I'm tossing up about buying a Ruger 204 or a Hauer 22-50 for varmint hunting. I already own a 22, a 22 Hornet, a 223 and 243 for these types of game. Do you think either caliber would be beneficial to have, or is what I have good enough? I rarely try and shoot anything over, say, 250 yards anyway. Cheers, Mick." Okay, mate, I honestly, if it was me personally, I'd be going, yep, I've got enough for varmint hunting, you know, in all those calibers there. Honestly, if you want something that's going to be really shooting quite flat and, you know, do the job, why don't you have a look at, with your 243, I mean, just go and buy some factory ammo, like Federal do the 55 grain VMAX for the 243, and, you know, it's leaving the muzzle at like 3,850 feet a second, like, and talk about fire flat. I mean, if you zero there at 200, it's only 0.7 of an inch high at 100, so it is extremely flat shooting. Mate, honestly, I wouldn't see any need to go to a 204 or a 22-50 when you've got the likes of a 243 that you can, you know, use those lighter pills in. Just sheer devastation, you know, at that speed, perfect for varmint hunting. Next question I got here is from Richard, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, you are my first Patreon creator that I'm following." Well, mate, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. I'm glad to help out as I find your channel very interesting and you're also very watchable. Well, I appreciate that too, mate. Thank you. I'm currently getting back into hunting after being out of the scene for over 20 years. I've just applied for my PTA to acquire a Tikka T3X and 7mm08. Very nice choice. I'll be going after deer at about the 200 metre range. What scope do you recommend for a budget of about $700? I'm not pro bells and whistles, so what is your recommendation? Mate, honestly, I would probably go for the Leupold VX3i. You know, I did review the 3.5 to 10 by 40. And I mean, look, I know with the Aussie dollar and everything, prices have gone up. I think they're about that $850 mark. So if you can stretch it another $150, I think you'll be very, very happy with that scope. It's just straightforward, works, and very, very nice clear glass on it. And I think for the price, it's very, very much, you know, in line with your budget. Next question I got here is from Peter, and he says, hey Ozzie, what's your thoughts on a decent factory round for 308 for culling brumbies and camel? I've been looking at various weights from 150 to 180 grains. Your thoughts, please. Well, Pete, look, when I was doing the professional shooting there, all I used was those 165 grain Sierra Game Kings from Outback Ammo. You know, they load them. I mean, there's others that load them. You can get Federal, etc., etc. The 165 grain Sierra Game Kings will kill any horse or camel that you need to be able to cull. They hit hard, they penetrate very deeply, and have that controlled expansion. So it opens up a very big temporary wound channel, and certainly does the job in a 308. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Next question I got here is from John, and he says, hey Ozzie, I'm looking at getting my first 22 for my 14-year-old daughter. What's your thoughts? I'm trying to stick to a budget, but happy to hear what your thoughts are. Well, honestly, I think I've actually answered this question once before in a Q&A, but happy to answer it again, mate. You know, if you're looking at getting a 22 for a youngster, obviously their length of pull is an issue, you know, because they haven't developed, they don't have the longer arms that they will when they're an adult, so they need to grow into a rifle. You want to keep to a budget, just go and get yourself a Ruger American 22LR in just the standard compact, because it will have the shorter stock insert at the back there that you can replace with the standard stock insert as your daughter grows. Okay, very well priced rifle. You can knock it around, you know, it just takes a knock, so it's all synthetic, and it's just something that she's going to get a lot of accuracy out of. There's also open sights you can get on them as well, and you know, obviously train with open sights, transition to a scope later on if you want to. You've got all those options available to you. So yeah, definitely the Ruger American, make sure it's the compact version, and then you can buy a standard stock insert. I think they're about like $25, $30 that she can use when she gets that longer length of pull and still keep the same rifle. Next question I got here is from Thomas, and he says, hi Ozzie, I love the video you recently did on the fit and proper person. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. I can't believe the amount of people that don't believe what you're saying and still believe that it's just for our own good. I just wanted to get your thoughts further on where you think this will go and what we can do as a community to fight it. Oh, mate, I sort of answered that really in that video, but yeah, I was shocked. You know, you do get people who just go, you know, oh, not everyone can have firearms and everything. Yeah, we get that, but we're talking about people who are having their medical history used against them from years and years ago, when they've displayed no actions whatsoever that would present themselves as a risk to others around them or even themselves. So, you know, what is the issue there? Look, there's a lot of argument about different organisations and what they don't do and what they do. All you can do is have a look at an organisation and have a look at them on their own merits. And if they support what you like seeing, then you obviously put your time and support into them. That's why I support the Shooters Union. There are the uneducated out there that seem to think that they don't do anything and they don't do this and they don't do that. My biggest complaint about the Shooters Union is they don't beat their chest like some other organisations do. If they did, you would be just absolutely swamped and amazed with what they actually do. So I've made that recommendation to Graham Park and said to him, you've really got to promote to shooters more about what you do. Like, you know, you put out some of the important things, but like, just, you know, for the amount of members that they help get over the line with licenses and fix up issues they've got with weapons licensing and everything, like that alone is extremely time consuming. And they're the only organisation that does that. You know, so I'm really, really happy with them, and honestly, I think that's really the only way you can sort of move forward with it is support an organisation like that. If you want to support a few different organisations, by all means, go ahead and do it. But my support is behind the Shooters Union because I believe in what they've achieved in the past, and some of it I've had some very personal knowledge of because, you know, they've helped me with issues. I've seen them help numerous different people I know with issues, and why wouldn't you support an organisation like that? Because virtually every single one of them are volunteers. They do this completely for free and the love of shooting. So why wouldn't you back someone like that? So yeah, that's my answer to that, mate. Okay guys, that concludes this month's Q&A. Thank you very much once again for the questions, and we'll catch you on the next Q&A.